You may want to sit down for this one, because what we're about to talk about has had the entire internet spinning in ways we haven't seen since the last major celebrity meltdown. The moment Todd Tucker opened his mouth and let a certain secret slip, fandoms broke. Group chats caught fire, reaction channels scrambled to go live, and every messy corner of social media lit up like someone had launched a digital grenade. This isn't the usual reality TV drama. This isn't just a marital disagreement being aired out for clicks. What Todd said was so unexpected, so explosive, so deeply personal that the ripple effect is still shaking timelines and comment sections everywhere. And today, we're breaking it all down. Every accusation, every silent response, every theory, every messy detail that has kept the internet awake at night. Todd Tucker, the same Todd who has been drifting further and further away from Kandi Burruss both on and off camera, suddenly delivered a confession that left fans stunned in disbelief. For months, people have watched their marriage unravel on The Real Housewives of Atlanta. The cold scenes, the awkward interactions, the subtle digs that hinted something larger was crumbling behind the scenes. But no one, not even the most dedicated RHOA detective, predicted this. In a recent interview, Todd claimed that Kandi had been secretly siphoning money away from him, not saving, not budgeting, not reallocating, but stealing. He said Kandi had allegedly been funneling that money directly into Riley's life, lavish parties, shopping sprees, lifestyle upgrades, and anything else Riley asked for. And Todd insisted that all of this was happening behind his back. The accusation alone stopped the internet dead in its tracks. For a moment, the online world collectively blinked, and then chaos erupted. Comment sections turned into battlegrounds. Twitter threads became essays. TikTok creators stitched his interview into multi-part exposés. Suddenly, everyone wanted to know, was Todd telling the truth or rewriting it? But it wasn't just the allegation of financial betrayal that set the internet ablaze. It was what Todd said next, the emotional core of his confession that struck people like a punch to the chest. Todd claimed this wasn't simply about dollars disappearing or questionable spending habits. He framed it as something much deeper, much darker, and far more personal. He suggested that Kandi wasn't just spoiling Riley, she was ruining her, shaping her into someone out of control, someone entitled, someone who would grow up without boundaries because everything was being handed to her without Todd's knowledge or consent. The way he said it, the tone in his voice, the emotion he let slip, it all sounded like a wound he'd been carrying quietly for years. And then came the line that sent shockwaves across the internet. Riley is my daughter too, but Kandi has been controlling everything between us. That sentence alone split the entire fandom right down the middle. Half of social media called Todd brave for speaking his truth. The other half insisted he was delusional, manipulative, or performing for sympathy. People demanded proof. They demanded context. They demanded anything that wasn't a man unloading years of resentment in a 20-minute interview. Suddenly, the question wasn't just, did Kandi do this? The question became, why is Todd saying this now? The timing of Todd's confession became its own mystery. Why break his silence now when their marriage is already dangling by a thread? Why drop accusations that could permanently fracture his family? Fans began forming theories faster than you could refresh your feed. Some believed Todd was desperately trying to protect his public image before the narrative of their marriage and potential divorce turned against him completely. Others thought he truly felt betrayed and finally reached a breaking point. And then there were those who believed something bigger was happening behind the scenes, something neither Todd nor Kandi were willing to reveal yet. Every new interview Todd gave only added fuel to the fire. Each retelling came with slightly new details, slightly sharper wording, slightly more emotion, and that alone made people suspicious. Was Todd revealing truth or revising it? Was this emotional transparency or strategic storytelling? And here's where things get even murkier. Kandi Burruss has said nothing. Absolutely nothing. In an era where celebrities respond to drama within minutes, Kandi's silence feels almost haunting. No Instagram stories, no tweets, no vague quotes that fans could dissect for meaning. Nothing at all. Some fans believe Kandi is shattered, blindsided, deeply hurt by accusations she never saw coming. Others insist she's letting Todd talk himself into a narrative corner, giving him enough rope to expose his own inconsistencies. And then there's a growing group who think Kandi is planning something. An interview, a statement, maybe even legal action. Something measured, powerful, and devastating. Her silence is shaping the entire public perception without her speaking a single syllable. While Kandi stays silent, Todd does the opposite. He keeps talking, interview after interview, quote after quote. With every retelling, his accusations grow longer, more passionate, and increasingly dramatic. And that's starting to backfire. PR experts online agree. When you're trying to protect your credibility, over-explaining is the worst possible strategy. The more Todd repeats his story, the more he sounds like someone trying to convince the world, not simply tell the truth. People start raising eyebrows higher each time he elaborates. His frustration doesn't sound directed only at Kandi anymore. It sounds directed at the entire internet, at the disbelief, at the scrutiny, at the perception that he might be lying or exaggerating. And when a public figure begins fighting not just with their ex, but with the entire online world, their story starts to feel less trustworthy and more like a defensive spiral. There's one important detail in all this that Todd seems to be avoiding like the plague: the long-standing rumors of his alleged affair. These whispers didn't vanish. Fans still discuss them on Reddit, gossip blogs, and messy live streams. The timing is suspicious, the intensity of his accusations feels suspicious, and people are starting to wonder, is this all a distraction? A desperate attempt to shift the narrative before someone else shifts it for him? It's a classic PR move. Project loudly so your own flaws fade into the background noise. And as Todd pushes harder and harder against Kandi, fans are starting to notice the psychological cracks. His anger doesn't feel like righteous truth-telling anymore. It feels like fear. The fear of losing control over the story. As the adults take turns firing emotional missiles at each other, Riley becomes the quiet, heartbreaking center of the storm. She didn't ask to be pulled into this. She didn't ask to become evidence in a public trial that unfolds daily on social media. She didn't ask to have strangers analyzing her childhood, her mother's finances, or her relationship with Todd. And through all of it, Riley has chosen absolute silence. No posts, no statements, no cryptic TikToks, no subtle likes, nothing. However, behind that polished exterior, something more complicated was happening, specifically with Riley, Kandi's first child. Riley never fully warmed up to Todd. She wasn't rude or dramatic at first, but she paid close attention. She watched how Todd interacted with her mother, how he managed his career, how he spent money, and what he had been like in past relationships. Over time, she developed a strong belief that Todd might not be with her mother for the right reasons. She feared he was benefiting from Kandi's success and that eventually her mother might be hurt emotionally or financially. Riley saw patterns that worried her, and instead of those feelings fading over time, they only grew stronger, especially as Todd took on a larger role within their family and business empire. The moment when the deep tension truly surfaced came with what fans call the Porsche incident. Kandi, proud and excited for her daughter, gifted Riley a brand new Porsche Macan, fully customized with red leather seats. It was extravagant, yes, but Kandi had always been a generous mother who enjoyed spoiling her daughter when she could. Riley was thrilled, posting pictures and celebrating her huge milestone. But Todd was furious. He argued that Riley should have had a modest first car, something practical, something more in line with how normal kids grow up. He felt the Porsche was unnecessary, irresponsible, and set the wrong tone for Riley's future expectations. Kandi fired back immediately, defending her right to spend her money on her child however she saw fit. To Todd, this wasn't just about a car. To Kandi, it wasn't just about parenting. It was about boundaries and control. To Riley, it was confirmation that Todd didn't understand her or her relationship with her mother. And to fans, It was the moment when the household power struggle became impossible to ignore. But that wasn't the only source of tension. Todd had a daughter of his own, Kayla, who came into the family dynamic with her own hopes and expectations. Kayla and Riley never truly connected, even from the beginning. Their upbringings were different, their personalities were different, and the way Kandi treated them was noticeably different. Riley had always lived with her mother, received her love directly, and enjoyed the benefits of Kandi's financial success. Kayla, however, often felt like a visitor, someone who stayed on the edges of the family instead of being placed at the center. She wasn't unappreciative, but she felt invisible compared to Riley, and that feeling grew stronger with every new gift, trip, or milestone Riley celebrated. Kayla even admitted in interviews that she sometimes felt like an outsider in Kandi's home. Fans saw the favoritism, and many felt sympathy for Kayla, who was quietly struggling for a sense of belonging. As Riley grew more vocal about her mistrust of Todd, Kayla felt the pressure intensify. Riley would openly question Todd's intentions in front of people, and sometimes even in front of the cameras. She made comments suggesting Todd cared more about wealth and status than love, and she claimed he played a perfect husband role that wasn't always genuine. Kayla, torn between loyalty to her father and her desire to feel accepted in the family, didn't know where to stand. Sometimes she sided with Todd, sometimes with Riley, and sometimes with neither. But through all this, her resentment toward Riley grew. Every time Riley got a new opportunity, an expensive gift, or a moment in the spotlight, Kayla felt smaller, quieter, and increasingly forgotten. Everything boiled over during a family dinner many fans remember as one of the most explosive moments in the Burruss-Tucker household. In front of the entire family, Riley criticized Todd, calling him selfish and opportunistic. Her tone was sharp, emotional, and direct. Todd snapped, something he rarely did, and defended himself with equal fire. Kandi got caught in the middle, trying to calm the situation while defending both her husband and her daughter. Kayla watched silently, hurt not only by Riley's harsh words, but also by the fact that once again, the tension had nothing to do with her, yet affected her deeply. The dinner ended with both girls storming out at different times. Kandi was left in tears, hurt, and exhausted from the emotional chaos. Todd was frustrated, embarrassed, and unsure how to move forward. It was a turning point, a moment where everyone realized that the family's issues were no longer fixable with simple conversations. But the drama didn't stay inside the home. Social media became a battleground. Riley began posting photos of her luxury gifts, her trips, and her experiences with Kandi, posts that subtly reminded the world of her favored position. Kayla responded with emotional, cryptic messages about being strong, knowing her worth, and staying resilient even when people overlook you. Fans picked sides immediately. Some argued Riley had every right to protect her mother. Others said Kayla was the real victim of the dynamic, struggling in silence. And some believed Todd was being unfairly villainized in a situation far more complex than viewers understood. Regardless of opinions, one thing became clear. This was no longer just a family disagreement. It had turned into a fully public feud watched by millions. Meanwhile, inside the home, the tension was relentless. Todd began to withdraw emotionally, tired of feeling criticized by Riley and unsupported by Kandi. Kayla became increasingly distant, convinced she would never receive the same love or acknowledgement that Riley did. Riley grew more protective and suspicious, feeling like her mother needed defending from Todd's influence. And Kandi was caught between the people she loved most, trying desperately to hold everything together. Every decision, whether it involved money, gifts, time, travel, or family events, became a potential spark that could trigger another argument. Even birthdays or simple family dinners felt like navigating a minefield. Everything was fragile. Everything was uncertain. By this point, fans were watching the story like a real-life soap opera, wondering whether the family could ever repair the damage. Was Riley justified in questioning Todd? Was Kayla truly being overlooked? Was Todd misunderstood or manipulative? Was Kandi unintentionally creating a divide by treating the girls differently? These questions dominated conversations online. The situation wasn't just about drama. It became a reflection of the challenges blended families face when emotions, money, jealousy, and public attention collide. Her silence scares people because her voice could end this story instantly. If she publicly defended her mother, Todd's entire narrative collapses like a house of cards. If she supported Todd's version, Kandi's reputation would take a hit so devastating she may never fully recover. Riley is the quiet witness the internet is waiting for. She's the only one who saw the family dynamics off camera, the arguments whispered behind closed doors, the tension adults thought they were hiding. Her voice carries a truth that no publicist can spin, and that's exactly why people are watching her so closely. But the saddest part is this. Riley might not be silent by choice. She might feel stuck, suffocated, or afraid of hurting someone she loves. She might understand that anything she says will be twisted, criticized, weaponized. She's trapped between two parents who both believe they're right, and that emotional prison is something no teenager deserves. With every passing day, the divide between Todd and Kandi grows wider. Todd keeps talking, insisting he's the victim of manipulation, betrayal, and secrecy. Kandi remains silent, watching the storm unfold with a patience that feels strategic. And Riley stays out of sight, trying to navigate the emotional battlefield she never signed up to enter. Fans want answers. They want proof. They want clarity. They want resolution. But the truth is still tangled in a messy knot of emotion, betrayal, money, silence, and rumors that refuse to die. Todd's credibility is slipping the more he speaks. Kandi's power is growing the more she stays silent. And Riley's absence remains the most unsettling part of all. Can this marriage survive? Realistically, it seems unlikely. The emotional damage is too deep. The betrayal, real or perceived, is too sharp. And once accusations are spoken into the public, they can't be taken back. But one thing is certain. Kandi Burruss is done playing the victim. She is reclaiming her power in the quietest, strongest way possible. And when she finally breaks her silence, the entire narrative might shift in a single, earth-shattering moment.